Welcome to the Got Invention Show. I'm your host, Brian Freed, and we have Eddie Cross, very interesting guy. He's an inventor. I happen to know him for a long time, and he's joining us tonight on the show. Welcome, Eddie. How are you?
Nice to see you again, Brian. I'm doing fine.
You too. So a lot of inventors out there are watching, they're listening. We want to see how we can help them get their ideas to the next level, and you've come up with an idea that you've brought to a point, and you've had a great journey along the way, and you're going to share that with us. But before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and why you're here tonight?
Hi, my name is Eddie Cross. I'm from the 5 towns on Long Island. I work for Nassau County Medical Center in the engineering department, and I come up with this great idea of Ducted Floor Dryer's air circulation system in 2015. So here I am today with Brian Freed.
All right. So, Eddie, there was a point where you had this idea, or maybe it was a problem first, obviously. So you had this problem. Explain to us the problem that happened and then what you did to come up with the solution for it.
Okay, I work in facilities in the hospital of engineering, and we had a major flood one year, and water was everywhere, and we came with mops, squeegees, wet vacs and everything. And then I had that aha moment and my light came on inside my head. I said, how about a portable air circulation system that could always be put at the point of use? And that's when I come up with the time saver ducted floor drying system. Okay.
So it's kind of like your profession. You're in the engineering side of it, and something happened. So like, did somebody hurt themselves? Did you see that there was something happening that made you come up with this idea?
What happened was it flooded so bad that I come up with the idea of always having a device at the point of use where it can help combat the moisture to help prevent slips and falls. Also for use in restrooms and foyers.
So did you see somebody actually slip?
No, I didn't see anybody slip. I actually slipped in the bank years before that. And then it didn't hit me right then, but then years down the line, I came up with the idea.
Okay. So when you're saying bathrooms and different types of situations, so what you're saying is that when you go to the bathroom, you dry your hands in a public restroom and the floors get all wet, maybe a restaurant or even like in the hospital, you're saying they're mopping the floors and people are still coming by. They do put that little yellow, the floor is wet type of sign that's on the floor, but who knows if people are reading it. It might be in a few different languages or what, but maybe people just don't get it. So what you're saying is that this is a way to dry the floor, or at least help to make the floor dry quicker. So you don't have to sit there and wait for the floor to dry. And that's the reason why you called it the time saver ducted floor dryer air circulation system, right?
Yes. So
okay.
This device can be installed in all restrooms, okay, with a motion sensor, provision for Wi-Fi to just let the air fly. So anytime somebody walks into the restroom, the device would sense motion and automatically come on to help dry the floor to prevent a slip and fall. So it's always on the job.
Interesting. So why don't you show us what it does and why you came up with it? We'll go into that a little bit more, and then all the steps that you took, because that looks really interesting. And I know that you put a lot of time and effort into that. So why don't you show us what you got there, Eddie?
Okay. This unit, as it stands now, it has a blower motor with an on and off switch, 3 speeds. The unit is designed to be removed for portability, to use it wherever you want to. The ductwork is designed for stationary use and used as a docking station. Okay, right now I'm going to turn on 1 low speed. And if you can imagine where the paper's blowing, that's where the residual water would be on the floor. This device would be blowing air across the floor to dry the floor, as well as circulate the air within the restroom. If you ever went into a stagnant restroom, it's not too good. But this device is always here with motion sensor to help prevent slips and falls. And And as you can see, it's multiple speeds. Once again, this is a surface mounted unit. Also, you can have a recess mounted unit inside the wall. Once again, for portability, you can take this device and once again use it within any facility wherever you want to.
Very interesting. So Eddie, let's talk. That looks fantastic, and I know it's taken you many iterations to get to that point. So really, congratulations on it so far. So let's talk now. So what you're saying is that unit has to be built into the wall. Do you see on the outside? Because you're showing the portability part on top. So how is it in the wall? Is it outside the wall and it's a case? And explain that to us.
Okay, you have two versions of the unit. This unit right here is a surface mount unit. So for architectural design restrooms, you can have it in multiple colors and surface mounted if you didn't want to break the walls open, because some of the older buildings have asbestos. So you don't want to go inside some of the walls and disturb anything. Walls that don't have asbestos and so on, you can actually open up a cavity in the wall, put the motor inside the wall above the plenum, and also recirculate the air to freshen up those areas and let the air distribute right to the floor.
Okay, so if that was in the wall, then the top part, the portable one, is that kind of like an optional one if it wasn't in the wall?
Correct.
Okay, understood. All right, so congratulations. And let's talk about your journey. So when you came up with the idea, Eddie, what did you do first?
I did Google searches, and just walked my way through and trying to get patent protection first. That was my first thing, to get the intellectual properties taken care of. I mean, because I could come up with a good idea, but if I don't have any patent protection on it, it's out the window.
How did you know to do that, or what to search for at that time?
I joined an Inventors Club, National Suffolk Inventors Association, and a couple people bounced things off of me, and they gave me guidance in which direction to go.
Okay, so you did a Google search, and you were trying to find something similar that already existed. You kind of gathered some research and information, and what'd you do after that, Eddie?
I went to see patent attorneys. Actually,
Okay.
before that, I went to other companies that would help you do the patent search. And then after that, I went to the patent attorney.
All right. So when you went to the patent attorney, how did you find one to start with?
Once again, Google.
Okay. And you wanted to find.
Yes. And people can recommend different attorneys to you, but you just have to do your due diligence, and what attorney is good for one person is not good enough for another. And it also depends on the scope of your product.
Okay. And you found a local attorney, or did it matter to you that they needed to be local or just out of the area?
They were out of the state, but it was conducive to what I needed.
Okay. So you started working with the patent attorney. Did you know what you were going to try to protect at that point?
No, but at one point it was basically the ornamental. First of all, the ornamental, and then the functionality and how it works. So
okay.
I received two patents. One is ornamental, and one is the actual patent.
Okay, so a design patent and a utility patent.
Yeah.
Fine. So you went to this patent attorney. You kind of like, between getting the design patent and the utility patent, there was a lot of work in between that you ended up doing. So you went to the attorney and you knew that this is something that you wanted to protect, but how did you know how this was going to work? What, do you have an engineering background, or did you have to speak to an engineer? Like, how did you figure out how you were going to get the system to be envisioned the way you were thinking?
I spoke to a couple of engineers, as well as I'm mechanically inclined, and that's what brought it all to fruition. Okay.
And how did you know all the mechanisms and how the motor should work? Are you taking pieces that already exist and putting it together, or did you have to actually engineer certain parts?
No, pretty much it was straightforward. Things that already exist, and just put a new twist on it. So you couldn't take all the components because then you would be infringing on somebody. So you just had to take select things.
Well, there's a lot of inventors out there that are watching that may have simple type of ideas, or maybe they have complicated. I mean, this looks complicated. It looks like, does an inventor go to an electrical engineer? Do they try to find parts and rip them apart and put them together to be able to come up with something like this? Like, how did you know? I mean, you really had this on your mind of what you wanted, but how did you know really how to put this together?
Some of it was trial and error, as well as you could tell electrical engineers, and they would give you a little guidance, but some of it is just trial and error.
Okay.
You find out what works, you dissect a couple things, you buy different motors, and you say, okay, this don't work, so let's deep six this one, let's try this one, until you find the right combination that does what you need.
So go ahead.
And then also going to Home Depot, Lowe's, and looking at other packaging and see what other products are out there and comparing notes.
So while you were going through these iterations and trial and error, how was that experience? Like, were you excited, frustrated? Were there points where you said, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore? Like, explain that experience, because many inventors go through that at different stages of their invention, but like, this is an important part. Like, you want this to work, and there was a lot of trial and error. So how did you tell us how you were feeling and what it was like going through those iterations?
Oh, there's a lot of days, there's a lot of lows, and you really have to believe in yourself, as well as forget about the naysayers. You just got to be tunnel vision and determined on achieve your goal.
What were the naysayers saying to you?
You're never going to do it. It's already been done. How could you reinvent the wheel, but you're not reinventing the wheel? So you're just trying to improve what's already out there.
And it looks expensive. Did it cost you a lot to engineer this?
Yes, well, there's molds involved. I mean, a couple $1,000s in molds. Basically, I also designed this particular unit to be as an accessory to somebody else's product. So I wanted to make it versatile. So basically, the ductwork is an accessory for my unit, which I'm actually making motors for now, but I also designed it to meet with somebody else that's already out there on the market. So if they wanted to license the product, they can license the ductwork and attach their motors to my ductwork.
Well, that looks like a finished product at this point. So, and it looks like it works. So there was a couple of testing opportunities that you had, I think maybe even before this version.
Yes.
And you wanted to really prove it because, like you said, there was a lot of naysayers. They said, this isn't going to work. There's things out there already that exist, but you proved them already that you have a design patent issued and a utility patent issued. So you passed that. But while you were exploring and going through the different versions of it, how were you able to prove that this actually worked?
Well, one day I was walking down the street when I first started out. I actually went to a Dunkin' Donuts and spoke to the owner of the Dunkin' Donuts in reference to let me put my device in their restaurant.
Okay.
And that was the first step.
So Dunkin' Donuts, how you doing? I came up with this invention, and your floors are wet when you mop them, or is it somebody spilling them, or is it in the bathroom?
Well, in this particular situation, they put it into the foyer when you first walk in, because they were doing renovations inside the Dunkin' Donuts. So eventually we were going to move them to the restrooms. All
right. So the Dunkin' Donuts, you took the portable one and you just had it outside, or did they build it into the wall?
They built it into the wall.
Wow.
So yes. So it was the first markup of the product, and just to get little traction, that's what we come up with. And then as time went on, I evolved with a couple of different designs. And right now I'm currently with this design. So I went to a couple different ones and trying to streamline it.
So that Dunkin' Donuts really took a chance with you. They whether it was being built or was already built before it went into the wall?
It was already built, and then at that time they were doing some renovation. So he said he would access the wall and have his contractors install it into the wall.
So they put it into. Go
At
ahead.
that time, it was an undersized motor, but he gave me a first shot with it.
Wow. So it was in the wall. Electric put in. It was able to work. It was on all the time, or did it have a sensor to dry the floor?
On and off switch whenever it's needed. On inclement days when it's raining and the patrons would go in and out, it would help drop the floor.
So here you are. You have your product into a Dunkin' Donuts, and they were using it. Did it work?
Yes.
How proud were you?
Very proud. Very proud to go in there and see my name on the product inside a wall. It's, you know, it's very impressive.
Did you do any kind of like recording or promotion or anything at that point to say, hey, my name is Eddie Cross and I came up with this invention and now it's installed in a Dunkin' Donuts? Like, what did you do to capture that success that you had?
Well, I was interviewed with a couple of news papers and publicized it out there and threw a couple things out on YouTube as well.
And what did the owner of the store say?
Excuse me?
What did the owner of the store say? Was he happy with the way it was working, and is it still there now?
Yes, he was happy with the way the product is working, and yes, it is still there now.
That's fantastic, Eddie. That's great. So you had the Dunkin' Donuts going. So what were you thinking at this point? Because I know that there was a point where you're looking to license it, which is you're trying to find a manufacturer that makes certain type of circulation type of products and let them make it and sell it into their distribution for you to earn royalties. But then you're also looking to manufacture it. So what was the point and where was the point where like you started to figure out what you wanted to do?
When the cost of a lot of molds, the molds got to be very expensive. And if you could find somebody that was willing to license your product, that would be the most cost-effective way to move.
But what did you do?
Right now, I have a manufacturer that did the molds for me, and it's more funds involved. So, I mean, if I could raise funds, it's a different story, but I would lean more towards licensing.
So when you started to figure out that you were going to manufacture, how did you find, like, you needed CAD files, you needed to know the motor sizes and all the parts and all the kind of like everything put together to make your unit up. How did you prepare all that?
Basically, like I said, speaking with engineers, and like I said, once again, going to Home Depot, Lowe's, looking at other versions of other products and seeing what they use and just tweaked it a little bit more.
So you had to find a factory to make that. How did you find one? And was it overseas or local? What were you?
On the U.S. side.
On the U.S. side. Yes. Were you thinking about manufacturing overseas?
Yes. I mean, if the cost was good, yes, I would.
Okay. Well, you got quotes for the factories overseas and in the U.S.?
No, just primarily the U.S.
Okay. All right. So you got quotes. Did you go check out the factories? Did you do any kind of like, did you ask for references of who they've done work for?
No, but I saw some of their work. And I was very pleased with their work.
And did you find somebody local or was it over out of the state?
Out of state.
Out of state. Okay. So when you found this manufacturer that made these electrical components and fans and so forth, what did you have to give them? And what was it like to get the quotes?
Well, basically, they give you the quotes. You go in there and you give them what your vision is, and then they will sit down with you and they go over parts list, what this would cost, what are you looking to spend, and as far as the components, basically, and that tells you your top end.
So they're giving you a quote based on the parts and the list that you gave them and the CAD files that you gave them.
Right, and also.
Mm-hmm.
The price per unit, the more units you make, the lower the prices.
Did you feel like you needed to find other factories to compare the price to, or you just felt like this was the right one?
No, you do. You still need to find other manufacturers.
And you compared the prices first before you went into manufacturing with this
Right.
company?
There were one or two, but it's everybody has a different scope, and then like you said, you go with where you feel comfortable with, and if the price range is within your price range, you got to crawl before you walk. I mean, a lot of times you will get burned, but you got to be in it for the long haul. So you go out there, you test the waters, you don't get so many units made right away, and then you see where you are. And then at that time later down the line, COVID came on, and a lot of things started shutting down as well.
Okay, so you're pretty close to this now. So you went into manufacturing, you had the tooling done.
Yes.
And what was that like? So they made the tooling, and then all of a sudden your product came out of the machine, out of the production. You got a pre-production sample. What was that like?
It was pretty right on spot. You know, it's exciting. You know, and then I got it in multiple colors, but I only did a short product run just to get the feel and see how many different versions of colors that would entertain somebody's eye.
Okay, so this might have been pretty expensive, Eddie. Not to start telling people how you came up with the money and everything else, but for those inventors that have product or an invention that they want to make, and it's kind of complicated. This doesn't look like an inexpensive, like a simple, kitchen gadget, for example. So, like, how do you come up, or how do you figure out with the funds to be able to make product, if especially that you want to manufacture them?
Well, you have to do it in small steps. You do what you can afford. I mean, you don't break the bank, you don't lose your house, and you just do it in small steps. When you can't do something, you just have to pull back your reins and wait till the given time, and then you can move forward again.
What do you think about the people that really, like, they're so passionate and emotional about their ideas that they really go all in? Do you feel like that's something that is comfortable for people? Like you're saying, you want to balance what you have, right? You want to be able to know that you're taking a risk. So how much of a risk was this for you?
It was a big risk, and it still is a big risk, because it's not just you as the inventor, it's your family, and you're putting a lot on the line, and you don't want to just put a lot out that you don't have. It's just like playing the stock market. Only put in what you're willing to lose.
Mm-hmm. So all these naysayers from in the beginning of our show here, were they the ones that were kind of driving you to prove that you can do it? What was it that just kept you going to see this through to this point?
Well, it's not just the naysayers, it's the passion that I have, and I know there's a need for the product. It's just the right place, the right time. And like I said, I work in facilities, in the hospitals and everything, and I see the need on a daily basis, but somebody has to open the door for you. You could go out and manufacture all the things you want, but if nobody's going to purchase it from you, you're stuck with goods in the closet.
Are you leveraging the Dunkin' Donuts person, the owner? Maybe they have multiple stores. Maybe other Dunkin' Donuts owners can see what you came up with in their store, and now the new generation of your product. Like, what have you done now that you've manufactured and you have units available for sale?
Well, I haven't reapproached them just yet, but what it is just making sure when you go back into the waters again, everything is redefined and it's ready for a good presentation.
And you feel like you're ready now, or are you still trying to do something else?
I have to go. A couple more steps I have to go.
It looks perfect, Eddie.
Yes, thank you. But like I said, it still needs to be tweaked a little bit more. And also, there's more ductwork that goes with this. So if you're dealing with an 8-foot ceiling, you just add more extensions, and the higher you get the motor up, the more quiet it is. So that means you're not really going to be using this as portable as much as it would be like this.
And how long have you been working on this invention?
I started in 2015.
Okay, so that's pretty quick. Pretty quick. And you have two issued patents.
2 issued patents and issued trademark, and I'm actually working on another trademark for a green line for greenhouses. for the same product.
And is that patented already or patent pending?
Well, that's the trademark is going to issue.
Okay. So when is the right time to go after all the owners of like these facilities and the building managers? What's your, or the owners, I should say, what's your plan and how much more time you think you need?
Well, like I said, once again, now it's capital for the manufacturing. That's the biggest setback, capital. Unless you have somebody that's willing to license the product for you and they could do all the heavy lifting.
So are you going to use your one, let's say, I mean, a lot of inventors can do this too, is to show this around. Let's say go to the Dunkin' Donuts, show it around and get orders before, almost take like pre-orders, and then you know how many to manufacture and how much money you need to raise. And it might be easier to raise when you have orders. Is that something that you're thinking about?
Yes. It just getting out there and getting in the trenches and just going out there and make yourself available. But like I said, once again, right now with COVID, everybody's a little set back. It's a little harder to get out.
You mentioned something earlier about COVID and the circulation issues that are happening, and maybe this might be a good time to kind of promote the air circulation in different places. Tell me what you're thinking with that, and share it with the listeners.
Yes, with this unit, you can also add MERV filters to it to filter the air as well, because right now everything is about airflow within inside facilities. Because air conditioners, the filters have to be changed out on a regular basis. More, if they're every 30 days, you might want to cut it down every 20 days, depending on how much air circulation is going on.
So Eddie, the crossroad for you between licensing and manufacturing, have you attempted to license this?
I reached out to a couple people, but they just didn't bite.
And where did you find them? Like, what did you do? How did you know what type of companies to look up and to call?
Like I said, once again, knowing the product, finding the competitors, and finding who manufactures, who makes it, and just reaching them, getting on the phone and calling, and somebody answering the phone and say, hey, listen, if I can't sell you the whole product, once again, I have the ductwork. You can use it as an accessory for your part. So I just tried to cover two angles.
So when you called them, what did you really show them or tell them? Was it something, did you make a video? Did you show them your patent? Did you have a sell sheet? Tell us how your presentation looked.
I didn't have the sell sheet, but I showed the videos of how the product works, the patents, and basically they're in the same scope of air movers. So they use the portables, like I'll say our name, like say B Air, who makes portable air circulation systems, the floor dryers. And I call them up, and then basically I reach to the manufacturer. So you have to keep digging until you find the right person, the person who makes all the orders.
So are you still kind of testing the waters with licensing, or you're really focused on manufacturing?
More or less licensing. More or less licensing. I mean, if that's the way to go, and it's going to be, because I can still have a niche in the market, but if I can license it and then have another way I could come with another part of it, then I'll entertain both. Got
it. So what's the next steps for you, Eddie? What's the big plan? What's your vision for your product?
The next vision is to go back to manufacturing and complete my motor that I started. Because I wanted to build my own motor, my own brand, and then just take it from there. Because once I have my own motor, my own brand complete, I think it'll fly in.
So where do you, after all this running around and getting it to this point, what's your true vision? Like, where do you want to see it? Who do you envision to use it? How many units do you want to sell? Like, what's your goal? Because you've gotten to this point. What's your real goal of what you want to do with this, and how you envision people using this?
I envision it being used in all industry, sold at Home Depot, Lowe's, any home goods store. And to walk into any store and see my product, any restroom, any foyer, any truck stop, anywhere where there's water, swimming pools, aquatic centers, pet stores, movie theaters. I want to see it globally.
That's great. Well, we'd love to see it globally, and you've done a super job to this point. We wish you all the best, Eddie. There's inventors at all stages watching you and hearing your story. And they could be with the idea in their head. They could be at the prototype stage. They could be figuring out if they do want to manufacture it or license it. They're not really sure. And then they might have challenges with trying to get intellectual property, like a patent. Maybe they have some office actions that they're coming around. Who knows? But Eddie, you've been at this for about 5 years now.
Yes.
So give us some words of wisdom. Help the inventors that are watching and give us some words of advice to keep us moving forward with our ideas.
Go to your inventors clubs, bounce things off of them. Just stay true to what you're doing. Don't throw a lot of money out there. Just take your time and it will happen, just piece by piece by piece. And get network, just networking.
Okay. Eddie, we wish you all the best. Congratulations on your success so far. And we hope to see your ducted, the time saver, right? The ducted floor dryer air circulation system. And I know that you kind of have like a good promo type of jingle. Maybe you want to share with us. You still got it, Eddie?
I think I still have it.
Show us what you got.
Hi, my name is Eddie Cross. I am the inventor of the Time Saver ducted floor drying system. There's no other ducted floor drying system on the market today. With the Time Saver ducted floor drying system on your side, your patrons no longer slip and slide because the Time Saver puts the air right where it's needed at the feet of the patrons as they are greeted. So don't let your patrons slip and fall. Put the ducted floor dryer on or into the wall. They said it, we forget it, and forget about it. Bada bang, bada boom.
That was awesome, Eddie. You still got it. You still got it. And where can we look up the time saver?
Ductedfloordryers.com. That's ducted, D-U-C-T-E-D, floordryers.com.
Eddie, thank you so much for being on our show tonight. Really appreciate it. We're going to follow you. We wish you all the best and keep on inventing. Right, Eddie?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. All right.
Home Depot near you.
What's that?
Coming to a Home Depot near you.
I love it. Can't wait to see it there, Eddie.
Thank you.
We'll keep in touch for sure. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the Got Invention Show. Again, I'm your host, Brian Freed. And if you would like to be a guest, you could go to gotinventionshow.com and sign up. Thank you very much. Have a great night from Got Invention Show. Good night.